All right, I think we're going again. So this is something I found on Daily Motion. Let me pause it real quick because it's from the mini documentary Autism and Love. I don't think it's a mini documentary actually. It was on YouTube and I reacted to it there, but for some reason it got taken down. But I found it on Daily Motion. The only downside is there'll probably be an unskippable 30-second ad at some point during this, but well, whatever. That's what editing's for, I suppose. So then we're going to look at Lenny Felix, I think. He has a YouTube channel, too. I should link it in the description. And there's like a section focusing on him about 50 minutes into the thing, as you can probably see from the timer. I'll full screen it. And yeah, I can relate to a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to pause it and offer my commentary. Sort of not even, I don't even know if it's a reaction so much as commentary, because it's probably going to be a lot more me talking and a lot less of like the thing. So, well, maybe not with the ads.
You know that? What? Call me stupid? I'll call you stupid. You know what? Let me tell you something.
You know, it's interesting that he's talking to himself because I talk about things that I think about a lot too. And I think people do, and I don't know. Like, I know people probably judge before, but I'm sort of like, you know what? I don't care. If you're that, and someone who's going to dismiss me based on that alone, you're probably not even worth my time. So, I don't know.
Tell you something, Matt. I didn't know what the hell happened, man. Let me just tell you what happened. I wish I was not autistic. There, I'm gonna say it right now. I don't like it. Makes me different. I don't like it. I wish I could have been a normal person.
I'm going to be honest, being normal is sort of overrated in some ways for the simple fact that, I mean, there's a lot of things normal people do that just are ridiculous. Like, I hate this thing that a lot of them do where they pretend everything's fine and they go to obsessive efforts to make it look like everything's fine when it's not fine. And then when you bring up how not fine it is, they get mad at you. It's like, but you're lying. Why are you lying about that? There's also this thing like where they ask, "Oh, how are you?" but they don't actually want to know how you are. And then you tell them how you are, and they are like, "Why you actually tell me?" Because you asked me. Duh. Just so ridiculous. I guess it does make the ones that do know who you actually are feel more special, but it's like, what if you don't have anyone like that? And it's sort of like, don't ask me things that you're not interested in knowing. Like, I don't know. Just annoying. It annoys me. It annoys me too because it's like you think you have someone you could talk to, and then it's like, no, you don't. Remember, there was one person who did that all the time. She's like, "How are you?" And I'd actually say how I was, and she's like, "Stop talking." It's like, well, but you asked me. Why don't ask me if you're not interested in knowing the full answer? I mean, it's honestly pretty. It's honestly, in my opinion, ruder than not saying anything. Because it's like you're just making it blatantly clear that you don't really care. You're just doing it to look good.
I wish I could have been a normal, regular person. My mom says be autistic, accept it. I tried accepting it. It's hard.
It is hard, and it's not even so much the fact accepting it yourself, it's will others accept it. A lot of people judge. Heck, my own family, they constantly nag me about things, and they say, "Oh, what are others going to think about that?" Like, how can you accept it yourself when nobody accepts you? And everyone judges you based on stuff. Like, a lot of times I just mind my own business, and people get offended, and they call me out like, "Why'd you do that?" It's like, what did I even do wrong? I don't even know. And I don't know. It's like there's just too much to keep track of. It's to the point where I sort of don't even try anymore as much because it's like, what's the point? You know, I walk around the neighborhood and I vocalize to myself a lot because it's like, I already gave up on the people in this neighborhood years ago, pretty much. So I don't really care what they think. But it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt to see that just those disapproving eyes. I don't know if they do it that much. I think a lot of the really toxic influences have left. But I think the point is, it's hard to accept yourself when others won't accept you, and they constantly judge you based on petty junk. Again, another reason why being quote unquote normal is overrated, because why do you even care about stuff like that? Why do you care how you look? Why do you care whether your hair is brushed to the T? Why do you care if your shirt and shorts match? I don't care. I just want to be comfortable and I want to do what makes me comfortable. Man, if it's not hurting anybody, why do you care?
Can I be honest with you? If I could change something, if I could, I'm gonna try to change it. But I told my mom this right now because of how disappointed I was. I would rather be a normal man than be an autistic person with $1 million. There. If God came up to me and says, "What do you want?" I don't want to be autistic anymore. I wish you can give me a new me. I could start my life all over again, and I wasn't autistic. There.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. There's a lot of frustration that comes with it. I don't know if I feel exactly the same way as he does, but there's definitely a lot of frustration that comes with it. And even though I'm like smart and I can bridge the gap in some ways, there's just other ways like I don't know what I'm doing. Like finding I really want a significant other, but finding somebody, I don't know what the hell to do. I don't know where the hell to begin with that. And another downside of being autistic is you're surrounded by other people who are disabled and they're not really going to be able to help you because they don't know what they're doing either a lot of the time. So you're kind of just SOL. Oh, and support networks. You want one of those? Yeah. Good luck. Good luck when you're dealing with a lot of people that can't even take care of themselves, and getting them to respond to text messages in general is like pulling teeth. So yeah, I mean, I kind of have to agree in some ways. Like my life is definitely frustrating in a lot of cases, and it would be nice not to have to deal with a lot of that. I don't want to be perfectly normal. There's definitely some things that normal people do and say that I don't want any part of, and I'm glad that I'm not like that. Like the facade thing I mentioned earlier, where they pretend it's fine when it's not, and you're the bad guy if you bring it up. I'm going to just say how it is. You know, if I'm upset, I want to say I'm upset. I'm not going to lie because it's quote unquote socially acceptable to make you feel better or something. You asked me, I'm going to answer the question honestly. Well, maybe not always, but I mean, I will more often than most, I will say. I mean, I probably don't relate as much because I'm really smart, like really, really smart, not just like tooting my own horn, like literally, legitimately a member, Mensa smart, and I can use that intelligence to infer things that other people with autism who maybe haven't been gifted with as much intelligence as I have can't do. Like there's certain things that I can look back on without anyone telling me, and I can say, you know what, in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Whereas other people might just live their life completely oblivious. But maybe that's not such a bad thing, to be honest, because when you're really smart, you can see what you're missing and see what others have that you want, but you don't necessarily know how to get it. Like, I would like to get married someday, but heck if I even know how to meet people. Heck if I even know where to go to meet people. Heck if I know how to talk to anyone. Heck if I have enough confidence. And it's just really frustrating to see everyone that I went to high school with pairing up with people, having kids. Not that I want kids, but just building a life together. I'm still stuck in the house I grew up in, and I don't even know if any of that's going to change anytime soon. It's really frustrating. And because I'm smart, I'm not saying I'm the only one with autism who can see this, but I can see this, and I don't live my life obliviously, and it makes me upset because I know what I want, but I don't know how to actually go about getting it. And then there's the fact I need to mention too about the friendship issue. Like being autistic, I've been around a lot of people who are disabled my entire life. And yeah, I made a whole video about how the disabled community kind of sucks. Like there's certain things like support networks, people that you can talk about serious issues with that I just don't have. Like a lot of people with disabilities, they're nice enough and all, but they are just abysmal at communicating. And a lot of them are like, I think the way to put it is like they're kids in adults' bodies. So, how do you think that works if you try to talk about relationship issues you're having and getting advice? You think a lot of them are going to be able to help you? How do you think that works if you're talking about wanting to move out and get your own place? And you try to communicate with them, but there's no communication to be found. Like you keep talking, bringing it up, and they don't respond, and they never bring it up on their own. How do you think that works out? Well, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't work out that well. You know, I feel like, at least for a long time, I've had next to no people that I can talk to about serious issues who, you know, will care and actually get what I'm talking about. Next to no support network. Recently, it might be changing somewhat, but I've thought that before, and well, I've been burned. I remember there was some time like a year ago. I thought I found a good friend, and I can finally rely on them. And just when I was starting to open up a bit more and embrace it, because I thought they're actually serious, they freaking pulled the exact same routine that a lot of people have done, and they just stopped trying, stopped being part of my life. I haven't talked to them in probably 3/4 of a year at this point. That's another thing that's frustrating about people with disabilities is like it really is like dealing with kids and adults' bodies, and a lot of and with that comes immaturity. A lot of them like they don't have the maturity that people without disabilities do. Like they don't have the maturity to realize, no, you don't just throw someone out immediately and move on to someone else. You freaking need to work on a relationship constantly and nourish it. And no, when someone sends you a message saying, hey, there's tornadoes, don't accuse them of scaring you. Thank them for going out of their way to warn you of something that they didn't have to do. And it's just really frustrating. With the dating thing, too, like, I mean, there's no support network. It would be nice to have some wingmen that I could go out with and we could help each other. Even if they're with someone, like, obviously, like, they wouldn't be seeking someone else out, but they'd be helping me. And it'd be nice to do that. But a lot of them are just as, clueless when it comes to trying to find somebody. So you're kind of on your own, and it really sucks when you, like me, you don't even know what you're doing and how to start knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, let me be a normal person. I bet you all the damn people I knew in middle school and high school, they're all in freaking college now. I'm not in college. That's what I wanted when I was in high school. I dreamed of going to college. I'm not in college.
Yeah, and I know I touched on this briefly, but seeing everyone, it's like me with seeing everyone making families and stuff. I mean, I went to college, so I can't accurately say I'm in Lenny's position with that in that regard. But it wasn't easy, and I acknowledge that I'm one of the few who was able to do it. Like in my special rec area, like everyone always says, like that's Victor's the only one I know who was able to go to a 4-year university and get a degree, and it was not easy. Let me tell you, it was not freaking easy. Just because I could do it doesn't mean that it was as easy as it was for most people. The workload was awful. It was so stressful, and the people there were awful too. And a lot of the crap that I've had, that I'm sure Lenny's had to deal with, rejection, exclusion, isolation, I had to deal with that in full force in college. So I talked about that in a previous video, how I had that dream where I was included in college, and it's disappointing to wake up and realize that that never happened for me, and it probably never will. Making lifelong friends, building lifelong connections, yeah, that didn't happen for me. Because everyone was too shallow and judgmental to give me a chance.
I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go to college. I think now I should have graduated college. I should have been in college right now. I should have graduated college right now. I know so many people that went to college and they done right now. I can't hang out with people like that. I can't.
Why not?
Because they're higher than me. Look, they're up here. I'm down here. I'm all the way down here. They're all the way up here. That's what I think.
Okay, there it goes. After I click the break recording button to try and thinking I'm going to have to reboot the recording and split it, then it decides to go. But that's kind of, I mean, I feel similarly. Like, I think he talks about how he feels like he's holding them back. But, I mean, I guess I'm going to let him keep talking because he kind of goes over it a bit more. Understandable. These are issues that you're constantly reminded of every day. Like, it's hard to...
I want to go to a girl that's kind of lower than me.
Like, again, I'm going to go back a second. It's really hard to deal with mental health issues, too, because, as I said, no support network. In my case, very few people even get what I'm going through. Either they're disabled to the point where they're kind of oblivious or unable to really support me, or they're neurotypical and they don't really struggle with these things at all, so they can't relate. So where do you go for support? Where do you go for help when you need someone to talk to? You're kind of screwed, and not in a swell way, as Drew Pickles would say. And I mean, yeah, the exclusion and isolation too. Like I was incredibly depressed when we got out of college because it's just everyone was always rude to me. They were disrespectful to me. You could just tell they didn't want me around. They didn't want to associate with me. They had no interest in having me in their life outside of school. That gets to you after a while. Everyone needs social connection, but a lot of people like me don't have it. And it's not like we haven't tried. We have. I just received no help because the university sucked and I didn't know where the hell to go to get help or how to go about getting help or even if there was a point. I mean, after a certain point, I just gave up because it's like, well, these people clearly don't like me. What's the point of even trying? Because it's not going to change. So just enter survival mode and hunker down and hope this freaking hellhole of a college term passes quickly. I've had to enter that mode several times in my life, sadly enough.
I want to get a girl that's kind of lower than me. That's what I want. If I found a girl that had a job, had a car, had her own home, I can't be with her. She deserves to be with somebody better than me. She's up here, I'm down here. That's the way I see it. It's hard, man. It's really hard to accept it, man.
I can definitely relate, not for the same reasons that he says. Like I think, as I said, he kind of feels like he's holding them back, and he doesn't want to be a burden. I don't worry so much about that, but I do worry what others will think. I mean, and it's hard not to feel inadequate in a lot of ways, even if they don't explicitly make you feel inadequate. I know a lot of people do. I've gone on online dating, which sucks, but that's a topic for another video. And I've tried meeting people. The number of people who stopped talking to me the moment they found out I was still working in a grocery store is impressive, to say the least. The number of people who didn't do that but never gave me a second date because I was awkward and didn't even give me a chance, that pretty much takes care of the rest of them. I'm in contact with almost nobody I've met on online dating, not even as friends, let alone as a freaking relationship. A lot of them just, they're too judgmental. And it's like, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but it's hard to feel adequate when no one ever deems you as adequate. A lot of them want and expect these people that have these full-time jobs, 6 figures, totally independent. And I don't know if I'll ever get there. I don't know if a lot of people in my situation will ever get there. We might make strides towards it. I'm not going to say that we're completely helpless, but I don't know how many of us are actually going to be able to live the American dream on our own. And I'm sure there's people out there that don't give a shit. I'm not really holding my breath, but I'm sure there's people out there that don't give a shit. But it's hard not to feel inadequate even so. Like there's this one person I know that recently they got potential roles in some TV shows, like as extras or I think minor speaking roles. So, and look, that's good for them. I'm happy for them, but and I'm not trying to take away from that, but it's hard not to feel inadequate because like literally I'm still not where they are and they're a substantial amount younger than me. Like I think they're in their early 20s and I'm almost 30 and they're already doing things with their life and here I am still just trotting along, not really doing much of anything. I mean, it's not like I didn't have passions. I did. I wanted to start a band, but I tried making it happen and none of the quote unquote friends that I asked to do it with really showed up. So that fell apart and it was not a pretty ordeal either. So I wasn't eager to try it again. It kind of ruined it for me. And it was a lot of immaturity. So it's like, it has to, again, a lot of people with disabilities are kind of immature in some ways. Not all of them, but I mean, it's like dealing with a kid in an adult's body, and with that comes immaturity. And really, there's no support network. So, the initial friends failed. I don't know where to find someone else, and I can't rely on any support network to pull me through. The band's dead on arrival. Same thing with writing the stories. I wanted to write stories, but I can't do it on my own because half the time I'm too unfocused, then half the time I'm depressed, half the time I'm too stressed out to really think properly because of college work and crap, or at least that was the case. That's not to say I never wrote. I did write, but it was also began completely on my own because I tried sending it to friends with disabilities and none of them really read it and gave me meaningful feedback. So eventually I just had to say, you know what, it's going to have to just do as is. And, there was just no motivation when I did finally get it published because everyone just crapped on it without even explaining why. And it's like, well, I don't want to continue doing this because what's the point? It's already hell on earth just to get it to that point. Why would I continue if that's all I get for it is just a pile of shit in my face? So again, it's hard not to feel inadequate because there's all these things I wanted to do and I never got to do for a bunch of reasons. A lot of them directly or indirectly relating to me and who I am. And then there's these other people who are just going about and doing all these successful things and making something of themselves, and they're way younger than me. And who knows if I'll ever get to that point? Maybe, maybe not. I'm certainly not holding my breath at this point, though.
Man, this is hard, man. This is tough. This is probably one of the hardest things I have to go through in my life.
I get you, Lenny.
Don't cry, man. Let me cry. I don't want to see a tear come out of your eye. It's hard. What do you think about me crying? What do you think the viewers can think about this? It's emotional. I can't let that happen. I got no job. I got no car. I'm living with my parents. I should be doing something. I'm a good person, man. I'm not a bad person, man. I'm a good guy. That's just... It hurts. It hurts, man.
Now, the good news is I think Lenny is a lot better off. Like, he has a YouTube channel. He hasn't uploaded lately, but he did seem a lot better in the intervening uploads in the years since this thing was published. But, yeah, I mean, I can totally relate. Still living at home. Tried to move out, and, well, that didn't end up working because, again, no support network. And I sure as crap don't make enough to go out on my own. Driving long distances makes me nervous because I feel like I get unfocused a lot. The job thing, I'm not working at the moment, but I should be soon. It's just a lot of technicalities. But even then, it's not going to be full time. So, and unfortunately, it seems like in today's society, that's what a lot of people freaking judge you based on. And everyone always says, why don't you just find someone who's disabled? They won't care. And that is a good thing about a lot of people with disabilities. I bash them a fair amount because this is a venting series so far. But I will say that's one good thing is a lot of them just don't care. Like if you're nice to them, they're nice to you. They don't care about stuff like that. But again, I don't think I would want to be with someone who's, disabled to the point where they're oblivious and don't care because there's a lot of immaturity with that. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to talk to them about things that bother me. If I needed support on something, I don't know if I'd be able to actually get it. And I've also heard horror stories too. Like a lot of them have broken up for silly reasons. And it's like, I don't think I could trust somebody. I don't know. Plus, I've kind of been burned out. No offense to anyone watching this who's disabled, but I kind of just have been burned out. Like a lot of the interactions with them have been very frustrating. Even getting together in a lot of cases is like pulling teeth. So getting responses to messages is like pulling teeth. And it's been frustrating in friendships to do that. Not in a relationship, no. That's just not something I'm going to accept. Like, I need someone who's going to make plans or at least reciprocate with my plans, who's going to reach out, who's going to engage me in conversation, support me. These are things that I need in a relationship, because I've tried having friendships without them. I've been depressed as all hell and felt alone. So that's kind of a thing that I need in a relationship. Otherwise, it's going to be unsatisfying and I'll never truly be happy. But how do I get that? Because either the person is disabled and maybe can't give that to me, either because, maturity issues, or they're just, they're too stressed out to do it. I don't know if this is the right term, but functional enough to do it. Or they're neurotypical, but then they might be able to give me what I need, but would they want to be with me? That's the real question. Do they really want to be with someone like Lenny said, who can't drive long distances, freaking still lives at home, and might never work full time? I know that that's not the reason he said it, but it's definitely a similar sticking point for me. So, who knows? Maybe I'll get more work, but in a non-conventional sense. I am trying to grow these YouTube channels, and definitely have to say any support you could give me monetarily or whatever is definitely helpful. Do have a Patreon. Please consider, if you want to check it out and like what you see, by all means, go ahead. I would definitely appreciate it. So maybe I'll get there someday in the non-conventional sense, but conventionally, I don't know if I'm cut out for it, honestly. And it's hard to know whether that's just a symptom of a lot of the other stuff that I've had to deal with, and that's manifested itself as me being less tolerant, or if that's just who I am. I've definitely gone through a lot, and I'm sure that's not helped my ability to deal with stress and adversity, but it doesn't change the end result. In poker, the pocket aces don't care if you call all in on the river when it's clear you're beat, or if you get it all in pre-flop and you get sucked out on. The money doesn't care. The poker hands don't care. At the end of the day, you're still broke.
He once told me that he's like, you ever walk into a room and everybody's talking about you? And he said that's how he feels every day when he leaves the house. Yeah.
Not every day, but a fair amount in social situations, I feel just like the odd one out that no one really cares about. I sit there in the corner doing my phone. I feel like I'm not really included in the conversations. I feel like I'm not going to be missed, so I do it with my phone to stop feeling so depressed. And everyone yells at me for being antisocial and never really comes and seeks me out, which is really what I would like them to do sometimes, is say, hey, are you okay? When I'm sitting there in the corner not doing anything, I like to say, hey, are you okay? Hey, we missed you, or something like that, but no one ever does. So I do feel like the odd one out. I'll tell you that.
So I just want my son to be happy. And I think he needs to come to terms with who he is, because he's not comfortable with who he is. And if he's not comfortable with who he is, I don't know how he could ever expect anybody else to be comfortable with who he is.
Again, easier said than done. How can you be comfortable with who you are when others a lot of the time aren't comfortable with you? And even if they aren't necessarily lording it over your head, I'm not saying everyone said, oh, you're less than me. You don't drive long distances in this and that. No, they maybe don't lord it over my head, but it's hard not to feel inadequate and feel like you'll never be able to measure up to them. So, yeah, how can you feel comfortable with who you are when others, either through their actions, through their hostile actions or non-hostile actions, make you feel like you never were able to measure up, even if that's not their intent in the latter case? Yeah. I think I cried last time I tried. I did this on my other channel almost. I didn't get to that point, but I don't know. I sort of just don't care as much anymore, I guess, is really the point I'm trying to make. I don't really care as much. For years now, I've thought it's highly unlikely that I'll ever find anyone. Now, maybe online dating's tainted my example. Online dating's definitely toxic. I would avoid it. I'm much better mentally since I quit using it and quit being ghosted by a bunch of selfish jerks. But, just after years of trying to find someone and feeling like you have to hide who you are, and being encouraged by, your family to hide who you are until you know them better, because then they won't judge you. And it's like, and even then, never being good enough past the first date, except maybe like once or twice. I just can't care anymore. I've been burned too many times to care anymore. Same thing with like friendships. Like, I do care, but it's hard to care as much anymore. It's hard to be as upset because, after trying to lean on my friends for support and having them just pull away completely or not even try to help me so many times, it's like you just assume it's going to be like that forever. I mean, even recently, even like within the past 3 years, I can count 3 different instances where I tried making friends and tried to make something happen, and they basically failed me. So, yeah. I don't know. This is really frustrating for me. I feel like I should be more upset, but again, I just don't care anymore. As bad as it is, I've accepted that it's more likely than not that I won't find anyone long term. It's more likely than not that I won't ever really have my own place. It's more likely than not that I won't really get where I want in life, and I'll probably end up dying at 60 alone in some group home. So, I mean, I'm going to try to fight it, I guess. I'm going to try to fight it. I'll try to work part-time. I'll try to build something on here. I'm not ready to give up completely, but I don't like my chances. I mean, the chips are all in. I got 2 aces and my opponent flopped a set. I could still hit an ace on the Turner River, but it's not going to happen very often. And it's certainly something you shouldn't count on.